Hey guys, so welcome back to my channel. It's your girl GH Kings, and welcome back to the Modern Day Young Christians series. I'm so excited today. Today we are going to be looking at the book of Numbers. So basically everything that happened in the book of Numbers. So the book of Numbers is the fourth book written by Moses. And as you are here to learn, I hope you learn one or two things that we will be able to use in our life and also help people so we all become better Christians. Okay, so yeah, let's get started. So in Numbers chapter 1, God told Moses and Aaron to actually do a census of the people. Okay, so remember that Jacob had 12 sons and one daughter called Dinah. And also, God has set aside the Levites, okay, for himself, because the Levites are to be working in the tabernacle. They're not to be going to war and all that stuff. Their own thing is to be working in the tabernacle, making sure that they offer the sacrifices, do everything that God asked them to do because they belong to God. Okay, so the census that God told Moses and Aaron to take, it was Manuel the Levite. Okay, so basically now it was a census of the 11 tribes. Okay, because Levites was not part of them at this point because they are being consecrated to God. So God instructed Moses and Aaron to pick a leader from each tribe. Okay, and God gave them the name of the person he wanted them to pick. And what this leader was supposed to do is that he was supposed to count the young men in his tribe, okay, or his clan that were like 20 years or older that can serve in the army. So that's what I did. And yeah, and I have like two different charts here because as we go on to chapter 26, we will see that God also instructed them to do a second census. Okay, so yeah, that's what happened here, and these are the number of people in total of young men that were like 20 years and above that could serve in the war. So when we get to chapter 2, the book actually help us to understand how God actually divided up the the tribes. Okay, so you know how on the axis, there is north, south, east, and west. God also divided them up like so. So for each clan, like I was saying, there was a leader, right? And also among the divisions too, there was a leader. So there were of course four leaders. Okay, for the east division, the camp of Judah was the leader. Okay, and for this particular division of the east, Judah people were there, Ishaka was there, and Zebulun was there. I believe these were all they were like three children of Leah. Okay, the three of them were children of Leah. So the family of them, they all came from Leah, Jacob's first wife. And then when we get to the south, we can see that the Reubenites were in charge of the south. Okay, and here you can see Reuben, you can see Simon, and you can see Gad. This is also a mixture of children of Leah and Leah's maid servants. And when we get to then the west, we can also see Ephraim. Okay, this is the camp of Ephraim is the what you call it in charge of this particular camp, and this camp is the children of Rachel, Leah's younger sister, Jacob's second wife. That's Ephraim, Manasseh, and Benjamin. And remember, Ephraim and Manasseh are children of Joseph, right? And when we get to the north, we can see that is the children of Dan actually is the one that is in charge in this camp, and it's basically Dan, Aisha, and Naphtali. So these are children of Belial, Rachel's maid, and then I think the other child is also from Leah's maid servants. Okay, and as you can see, the word of God also gave us the number of people that were actually in each section, like in each axis. Okay, so in the east part there were 186,400 people. On the south there were 151,450. On the west there was 108,000 and then 100, and then on the north there was 157,000, I mean 600 people. Okay, so yeah, basically. And also because I, like before I said, the Levites were not part of these tribes that was counted, because the thing is, like, God wanted them to actually be in the middle of the camp where the tabernacle is so that they can guard it, because that's That's their purpose, right? Their purpose is to make sure everything is neat and order, and to take charge, okay, cater for the tabernacle and everything that goes on in there. So yeah, they were in the middle. They were in the middle of the axis, okay, the Levites. So when we get to Exodus chapter 3, we can we can now see how God actually counted the Levites. Okay, because God initially did not count them among the other tribes because they are being set aside. Okay, so with the Levites, let's just read. So this is part of Genesis chapter 3. So the sons of Aaron were Nadab, the firstborn, and Abihu, Elijah, and Itamar. Nadab and Abihu, I wrote this. Nadab and Abihu, they actually offered a strange sacrifice to God, okay, in the desert of Mount Sinai, and so they actually died. So now it was only Eleazar and Itmar that were alive, okay. So verse 10 of Numbers chapter 3 says, appoint Aaron and his sons to serve as priests. Anyone who anyone else who approaches the sanctuary is to be put to death. The Lord said, the Lord also said to Moses, I have taken the Levites from among the Israelites in place of the first male offspring of every Israelite woman. The Levites are mine, for all the firstborn are mine. When I struck down all the firstborn in Egypt, I set apart for myself every firstborn in Israel, whether human or animal. They are to be mine. I am the Lord. These were the names of the sons of Levi: Gershon, Kohath, Merari. I think that's how you say it. Verse 18. These were the names of the Gershonite clan: Libni, Shimei, the Kohalhite clan: Amram, Ishha, Hebron, and Uzel. The Merarite clan: Meli, Mushi. So basically, yeah, these are how they were divided among themselves as well. Okay, and like we all read in verse 10 and 11, God actually chose the Levites in place of the firstborn that He required of every woman. Okay, so yeah. So when we get to Numbers chapter 4, it talks more about what each tribe, I mean not tribe, each what you call it, each part of the Levites were supposed to do. Okay, so for the Kohahites, they had a particular task that they were supposed to do. For the Gershonites, they had a particular task that they were supposed to do. For the Merarites, they had a particular task that they were supposed to do. And this all can be found in the book of Numbers chapter 4. So I wrote some of the things that was said in there that they were supposed to do. For instance, for the Kohahites, they were supposed to cover the curtains with a double leather and spread a cloth with solid blue cover that covers the post on the place. Okay, and they were the ones that were allowed to go to the innermost part of the tabernacle. And even though they were allowed to go to the innermost part of the tabernacle, they were not allowed to be looking at the things in the innermost part. Like if they're there and they're covering, like, let's say, a bowl, they're not supposed to be looking in the bowl to see what is in there. They were not supposed to be doing that, because if they did that, then they were be put to death. And also Moses also told Aaron to actually teach them all these things, so that when they go there, they don't die. Because if you go there and you touch what you're not supposed to touch, you'll be looking through the things you're not supposed to be looking through. You actually causing problem for yourself. Okay, so the Gershonites also, like, they had their own particular tasks that they were doing. They were the ones that actually will carry like items like the curtains to the tabernacle, and stuff like that. But they don't just wake up and do what they want to do. They have to follow the instructions by Aaron. Okay, so if Aaron tells them carry this curtains, then they will carry it. And then when they get to where they're going, the Koshites will be the one to actually cover whatever they need to cover, you know so basically. And the Merarites, okay, so let's read what the Merarites were actually doing. So verse 31 says, as part of their services at the tent, they are to carry the frames of the tabernacle, its crossbar, post bases, as well as the post of the surrounding courtyard with their bases, tent pegs, ropes, and equipment, and everything related to their use. Assign each man a specific, okay, things to carry. So basically, they were like carrying, like, I would say, like the pillars and stuff like that, like the crossbars. So they were, I guess, they had to carry like maybe the heavier things. That's how it seems like to me. So here we can see how the Levites actually was serving God. Okay, they all had a particular task that was assigned to them. So basically, that's what the book of Numbers chapter 4 wanted us to learn from here. Okay, so when we get to Numbers chapter 5, it talks about purity in the camp, it talks about restitution for wrongs, it also talks about the test of the unfaithful wife. Okay, so this is the three main things that Numbers chapter 5 was all about. So purity in the camp, basically it was actually it's good for themselves, like it's like, let's say someone had measles, they were not supposed to be in the camp, they were supposed to be far from the people. Why? Because this thing is airborne. You know, it's contact. When you come in contact with it, you will get the measles and stuff like that. Let's use corona for example. If it was back then, if you get corona, you won't be among the people. You will be isolated. The same way, if you have corona here in this modern day, you are isolated. So basically, the things that God told them to do are the things that we're actually doing. So yeah, basically we're actually doing now. So if you are sick, you had some form of defiling defiling skin disease, like measles, chickenpox, stuff like that. Of course, you will not be among the people, because you will spread you will spread the infection, and they will all be sick. So that you have to, I guess, quarantine yourself outside of the camp. So basically, that's what the first part of um Numbers chapter 5 was all about. And for the second part of Numbers, it talked about restitution for wrongs. Basically, so like let's just read this verse 5 to verse 7. Okay, it says, the Lord said to Moses, say to the Israelites, any man or woman who wrong another man in any way, and so is unfaithful to the Lord, is unfaithful to the Lord, is guilty, and must confess the sins they have committed. They must make restitutions for the wrong that they have done, right? So it goes on and on and on. So basically, it's saying like, if you wrong somebody, you need to, of course, ask for forgiveness, and you need to make a restitution to the person. And if the person is not there, it has to be the person's family that you have to make restitutions to. And if the person doesn't have no family, then you have to make your restitution to God by giving that offering or whatever you are required to give to the priest. Okay, and then when we get to the last thing that this chapter 5 was talking about, it talk about the test of the unfaithful wife. Okay, so basically it was talking about, if a husband find out that his wife is cheating, or if he presumes, assume that the wife is cheating, or if he's just jealous and feels like his wife is cheating, then he should report this wife to the priest. Okay, and what is the priest supposed to do? The priest is supposed to take water from this clay pot and add um a bit of, what you call it, the sand or soil, the dust basically, from the tabernacle, mix it with this water, and give it to the wife to drink. And this is called the bitter water that bring a curse. And if this woman is guilty, as stated here from verse 21 going, if this woman is guilty, then her abdomen will swell, and basically she will have like ascites, and also she will miscarry. When she gets pregnant, she will have a miscarriage. But if the woman is not guilty, then she will have a lot of children, and all this affliction will not come onto her. So that is basically a summary of Numbers chapter 5. So when we get to Numbers chapter 6, it talks about the Nazarenes, okay, the Nazarenes, and also the priestly blessing. So an example of a Nazarene is Samson, okay. So who is basically a Nazarene? A Nazarene is someone that has decided to give their lives to God, and just be there for God. That's it. Okay, they are different from these Levite people. Okay, these Levite people, you have to be born as a Levite for you to become a priest. But a Nazarene is someone that has chosen to give his or her being to God. And if you're a Nazarene, you cannot shave your hair. Okay, scissors is not supposed to come to your hair, and also you're not supposed to be drinking. You're supposed to abstain from wine and any other fermented drink. Okay, and you must not drink vinegar from wine or fermented drinks, and you must not drink grape juice or eat grapes or raisins. Okay, you're not supposed to like eat anything that an alcohol can be made out of, basically. And also you're not supposed to come near someone that is dead. Okay, so yeah, that's who a Nazarene is. An example, like I said, was Samson. That's the reason why when Samson Delilah cut his head, you know, his power actually left. Okay, so yeah, because Delilah kind of broke the promise that Samson and the parents actually have made already to God, because he's not supposed to cut his hair. And once you cut that hair, that promise is broken. Okay, so for the priestly blessings, so this is the blessing that actually the Lord God basically told Moses to tell Aaron and his children to actually say to the Israelites. And it goes like this, verse 24. The Lord blesses you, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious unto you. The Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace. Okay, so this is basically what God told Moses that Aaron and his children are supposed to say to the Israelites. Okay, so yeah, basically this is the summary of Numbers chapter 6. So in Numbers chapter 7, it talks about the offering at the dedication of the tabernacle. Okay, so these are offerings that God requested from the what you call it, the clan leaders. Okay, remember the clan leaders, the one that counted the all the tribes. Yeah, so this is the offering that God wanted from them. So each of the leader was supposed to bring 12 silver plates. I highlighted those in red. Okay, and also 12 silver sprinkling bowls, and also 12 gold dishes. Okay, and also they were supposed to bring like animals for burnt offering as well. So they were supposed to bring like 12 young bulls, 12 rams, 12 male lambs, and a year old, okay, for grain offering. And they were also supposed to bring 12 male goats, okay. And also for the sacrifice of fellowship offering, they were supposed to bring 24 oxen, 8 rams, 60 male goats, 60 male lambs, and a year old, 60 male lambs that are a year old, basically. So these are the things that they were all supposed to bring, okay? The what you call it, the elders that were chosen for the tribes, basically. So in Numbers chapter 8, it talks about God setting apart the Levites, okay? God setting apart the Levites. So let's read verse 5 going. It says, the Lord said to Moses, take the Levites among all the Israelites and make them ceremonially clean. Okay, to purify them, do this: sprinkle the water of cleansing on them, then have them shave their whole bodies and wash their clothes, so they will be purified. So basically we can see that water baptism is something that has been there, is something that have been going on back in the days. Okay, back in the days. And as you can see, even the Levites themselves were baptized in a way. This is water baptism, to clean them so that they will be holy, to serve at God's temple, basically. And when we read verse 23 going, it also says, the Lord said to Moses, this applies to the Levites, men 25 years or older or more shall come to take part in the work at the tent of meeting, but at age 50 they must retire from their regular service and work no longer. So basically, from 25 going to 50, they are to serve God in the sanctuary and do everything. But when you reach 50, you are supposed to retire. Okay, but that doesn't mean you can't go to the temple and then help out. You can go there and give instructions to the younger ones that are being trained, but you're not supposed to go there and do any hard work. Okay, you can go there and train them, make sure they actually doing the right thing, and they're taking responsibility for their actions, but you're not supposed to go there and do any hard thing. So basically this is what Numbers chapter 8 was all about. So when we get to Numbers chapter 9, it talks about the Passover and also the cloud above the tabernacle. So let's read about the Passover. Verse 14, it says, a foreigner residing among you is also to celebrate the Lord's Passover in accordance with its rules and regulations. You must have the same regulations for both the foreigner and the native one. So basically, since the Israelites too had slaves, and of course they had visitors as well, God was saying like everybody in there is supposed to, partake in the Passover. Because remember, it's a day that God actually killed the firstborn of Pharaoh, right? So yeah, so they are supposed to partake in it, whether you are native born or they bought you by money, whatever you are, as long as you are in there, you are supposed to take it. And also with people that are troubled, they are supposed to observe the Passover, okay? And with the same rules and regulations, okay? And also verse 16 going, it talks about the cloud above the tabernacle. So let's read that verse 16. That is how it continues to be. The cloud covered it, and at night it looked like fire. Whenever the cloud lifted above the tent, the Israelites set out. Wherever the cloud settled, the Israelites encamped. So basically, the God, I will consider this as God, the Holy Ghost. Okay, the Holy Spirit was leading the Israelites, and in when he comes, he comes in the form of cloud. Okay, he looks like fire, and he goes whenever they're actually leaving. He's like fire that's protecting them, and whenever he settles in the form of a cloud, it means they have reached a destination at that point, like meaning they have to settle. And if the cloud stays there for like a year, they will settle there for a year. If it stays there for 3 days, they will settle there for 3 days. If it stays there for like a month, they will just settle there for a month. Okay, they just followed the cloud, okay, and the fire as it directs or as it moves. So Numbers chapter 10. So Numbers chapter 10 basically talks about the silver trumpet and the Israelites leaving Sinai. Okay, so let's read this. Whenever the ark set out, Moses said, rise up, Lord. May your enemies be scattered. May your foes flee before you. Whenever he came to rest, he said, return, Lord, to the countless thousands of Israel. Okay, and basically, what is the silver trumpet? Basically, so God told Moses that they needed that trumpet so that the Israelites will know when it's time to go. So when it's time to go, they will whistle that, they will blow into the trumpet, and they will all know, "Oh, okay, 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 it's time for us to go." So they will start packing their stuff and be ready to actually move. Okay. So Numbers chapter 11. So this talks about fire from God and also quail from the Lord. Okay. So this is very important, all right, because the Israelites still murmured. Okay, they were still complaining to Moses and Aaron about their journey, about how they haven't eaten any meat, and how if they were in Egypt, they would have had meat, they would have like fish to eat, but they are just eating manna. Okay, what is this manna we are eating? So let's just read verse 11 going. I mean chapter 11, verse 1 going. Okay, it says, now the people complained about their hardship in the hearing of the Lord. And when he heard them, okay, and when he heard them, his anger was aroused. Then fire from God burned among them and consumed some of the outskirts of the camp. When the people cried unto Moses, he prayed to the Lord, and the fire died down. Verse 3. So that place was called Tabira, because the fear of the Lord had burned among them. So basically, yeah. And another thing that happened too. Okay, so after the fire of God burned them, of course they went quiet for a while, but then Moses too was complaining now, because I mean, can you imagine how Moses taking care of all these people? How, like, come on, even God gets angry at them. One more of Moses that have like, there's a human that have like anger issues already. So Moses told God, like, God, am I the one that gave birth to all these people? Why do I have to carry all their burdens? Lord, it's too much. And also around this time, Moses' father-in-law was there. He hadn't departed yet, okay? And I know in some of the previous book, in Exodus, I believe, I told you guys that Moses' father-in-law came to visit, and then he left. But I believe all these things happened, okay, while he was there before he left, okay? Because it also talks about how the Moses was complaining, and then God told him to actually bring like 70 elders, okay? 70 elders. I mean, God has already chosen these people already. So he brought them, and then God poured some of the Holy Ghost that Moses had into these prophets. I mean, elders. I mean, not prophets. Into these elders, and then they began to prophesy. And I think there were like one or two elders that weren't able to go to the meeting that Moses was having with these elders, for them to also be empowered, so they will be able to lead the Israelites. They were in the camp. Okay, there were two of them, and they also start prophesying in the camp. And Joshua Moses ate find out, and he was like, wait, why are they prophesying? So he went to tell Moses about what's happening, and he was like, Moses, you should go and stop them. And Moses like, no, 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 he should not be jealous for him, that he's actually glad that they to have the power of God, so that they can also partake in this whole thing that we have it. So what does that teaches us as Christians? We should not be jealous about a gift that God has given someone. We should pray for others too, to be to what you call it, to have all these gifts. When someone have the gift, we shouldn't have jealousy towards the person, because the person is blessed by heavenly gift. We can all get a gift, right? So yeah, basically that's what I learned from there. And also, as it moves on to the quail part, the Israelites were complaining, like I said, about food, them not having meat and all that. So God told them that He will give them quail to eat. Okay, and what happened is that God actually brought quail for them, and they went ahead to get the quails, and they, of course, they cook it, whatever they roasted it, whatever they did, they ate it. And as they were eating, Moses too was like cursing them, like, we will not finish eating this thing, and you get more meat to eat. And when God saw what was happening, I mean, God is the one that brought the quail because they were complaining. But when God saw what was happening, how the Israelites, just wanted things their own way, how they were craving for meat, he got angry. He got angry. Okay, God got angry, and then I think there was another fire that came, and some of the people that were actually craving for the meat, that meat actually died. Okay, so that's what happened in the book of Numbers, chapter 11. So when we move on to chapter 12, this time it was Moses' sister and brother that were actually being annoying at this point. So Miriam and Aaron were complaining because Moses had a Cushite wife, and I believe it's a black wife that Moses had. So I'm thinking they were complaining now because um the woman came with the father, I'm assuming, and the children, and they saw that the woman is Cushite, the woman is black. So they're like, yo, Moses, you couldn't find any wife among us. You had to marry a black woman. They're not happy about that. So they were complaining. They were like, oh, who is this Moses self? I mean, we all prophesy, right? So God heard what they were saying, and God was like, oh wow, I can see. So among you all on this earth, it's basically the same thing that he said during the time of Noah. Among all these people, Moses was the righteous person, okay, that God could find on earth. So you talking about the most righteous person that God could find on earth. Are you okay? So this is what the Lord says. He said, listen to my words. When there is a prophet among you, I, the Lord, reveal myself to them in visions. I speak to them in dreams. But this is not true with my servant Moses. He is faithful in all my house. With him I speak face to face, clearly, and not in riddles. He sees the form of the God. Why then were you not afraid to speak against Moses? Okay, why then were you not afraid? Why then, sorry guys, why then were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? The anger of the Lord burned against them, and he left them. And then after he left, Miriam became leprous. Okay, and then Aaron told Moses what happened, and then that they are sorry. So God was like, well, she's still gonna be a leprous, right? Because when you spit at your father, something, I think there was this proverb that Moses said, when you spit at your father or something like that, you I think you get punished for 7 days or something like that. So yeah, Miriam had to stay outside the camp for 7 days for her because she was leprous, for her leprosy to actually go away. And that also delayed the Israelites 7 days, okay, because they had to wait for Miriam to come back. So Numbers chapter 13. So at this point they have gone a bit further, and Moses instructed men from each tribe. Okay, so there was like one man from each tribe that was chosen to go and explore the land of Canaan, to bring them news about what is going to happen, or I mean, or about the people that are in there, about how the vegetation, my bad, is, what kind of crops grows there, is the soil fertile and all that. So they went, okay, so there were like 12 of them that went right? And when they went, only Caleb and Joshua came back with good news. The rest of them, they came back frightening the Israelites. Okay, they were like, oh my God, the people there are giants. They were descendants of Anak. Okay, oh my God, we seem like grasshoppers in their eyes, and in our in our eyes too, they seem like giants. There is no way we can actually fight these people. But then Caleb and Joshua is like, oh, yes, we can. Okay, I mean, I don't know about you, but we can. So that's what happened there. And then God said, because of, and I mean, sorry, after they said all these things, the Israelites became very fearful. They were so afraid, and they were like, oh my God, God brought them out of Egypt to an unknown place just to kill them. And because the Israelites were frightened and they said all these things, God actually cursed them in a way. Okay, we will learn more about that. And God also said it's only Joshua and Caleb that will actually enter into the promised land. So when we get to Numbers chapter 14, the people were still rebelling against God because of the news that these the people that went to see the to explore the land actually brought. Okay, so let's just read some of the things that was happening and then explain. So verse 1 going. At night, all the members of the community raised their voices and wept aloud. All Israelites grumbled against Moses and Aaron, and the whole assembly said to them, if only we had died in Egypt or in this wilderness. Why is the Lord bringing us to this land only to let us fall by the sword? Our wives and children will be taken as plunder. Wouldn't it be better for us to go back to Egypt? And they said to each other, we should choose a leader and go back to Egypt. So here, because of the news that those people brought, the people that went to explore the land brought, this is what they actually saying. They became fearful, wanting to go back to slavery because I guess they were used to slavery. So let's read from verse 26 going. But at this point, we can see God was actually angry. Okay, so let's see. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, how long will this wicked community grumble against me? I have heard their complaints of these grumbling Israelites. Verse 28. So I told them, as surely as I live, declares the Lord, I will do to you the very thing I heard you say. Okay, so basically God says like He will do to them exactly the thing that they said. Okay, what did they say? They said they will not make it. So yes, they will not make it. Verse 29. It says, in this wilderness your bodies will fall. Every one of you, 20 years old or more, who was counted among the census, who grumbled against me. Not one of you will enter into the land I saw with uplifted hands to make your home, except Caleb, the son of Je- Jephunneh, I think that's how you say it, and Joshua, the son of Nun. Verse 31. As for your children that you said would be taken as plunder, I will bring them to I will bring them in into the I will bring them into enjoy the land you have rejected. Verse 32. But as for you, your bodies will fall into the wilderness. Your children will be shepherds for 40 years, suffering for your unfaithfulness until the last of your bodies lie on the wilderness in the wilderness. So basically God is telling them, none of them, remember in chapter 1, the people that Moses counted, they were the ones that will be able to fight. So of course they were the ones that were going to war probably against all these people that they found there. So God is like, yo, really, this is how you're going to act? So you know what, you are going to die in this wilderness, and your little ones are actually going to stay here for 40 years. And as they grow up, I will take them to the land that I have promised. Okay, the land that you were supposed to take over, I will give it to your children. And it's like the children basically suffered for the consequences of their parents' action, which is not fair. It's really not fair. I always say it's not fair, but then it's the thing. That's why, like, as Christians, we always have to pray, like, even if you haven't sinned, pray that God forgive you of the sins of your parents, because the sins of your parents, they may not be the ones to carry the burden. They may not even live to see you suffer the sins that they even committed. So as you pray, you need to ask God to forgive you of the sins that your parents even committed, okay? Because sometimes we be paying for sins that we did not commit, okay? And we don't even know why we're paying for those sins. Yeah. So this is what happened in Numbers chapter 14. So when we get to Numbers chapter 15, it talks about the supplementary offerings, okay? So yeah, it talks about supplementary offerings. It also talk about offering of in unintentional sins, okay? And also it talk about the Sabbath breaker being put into death, okay? And an example was actually here. There was a man that was found, okay, gathering the wood during the Sabbath day, and the people told Moses, and Moses was like, well, I don't know what we're supposed to do to this person. Let me consult God to see what he wants us to do to this person. And God was like, they should stone the person to death. And yeah, basically, God told them to stone the person to death. So the person actually died. And after that incident, God told the Israelites that they should put tassels, on their garment to remind them of the Sabbath, so that they will keep it, to remind them of the things that God has told them, so that they will not deviate from the things that God has told them. So this is what happened in Numbers chapter 15. And as we get to Numbers chapter 16, it talks about Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. Okay, these people are, I don't understand them. We will talk about this, and I'll actually create a video that talks about power. Okay, because when some people get power, they think they everything. Okay, they don't even know it's the mercy, it's the grace of God that has given them the power that they have. When they get power, they think they everything, and they just start misbehaving, and that can be seen in the life of these people. So let's just read a little bit about them. Okay, so chapter 16 verse 1, it says, Korah, son of Ishah, son of Korath, the son of Levi. So this Korah person is from the family of Levi. Okay, and certain Reubenites. So Korah is from Levi, Dathan, and Abiram. They are Reubenites. Okay, and they okay, let me just keep on reading. Reubenites, Dathan and Abiram, sons of Eliab, and son of On of Peleth, became insolent, verse 2, and rose up against Moses. With them were 250 Israelite men, well-known community leaders who had been appointed members of the council. They they came as a group of oh my God, sorry guys. They came as a group to oppose Moses and Aaron and said to them, "You have gone too far. The whole community is holy. Every one of them is holy, and the Lord is with them. Why then do you set yourself above the Lord's assembly?" So basically, these people are saying, like, I think they just felt jealous about Moses. So they were like, Moses, why are you doing what you're doing? Like, Israel is holy. They are chosen by God. They are holy. You are also holy. So why are you making it seem as if you are holier than thou? Why are you making it seem as if you are the most holy person here? I guess they did not hear about the story of Miriam and Aaron, what God told them. So yeah, basically they complained, and they had these 250 elders with them. They were supporting them. So when they finished complaining, God was like, wait, what are they doing? God got angry, and God wanted to just kill every Israelite. But Moses pleaded, and then God told them to remove themselves from where Korah, Dathan, and Abiram and their families were. So they did, and they also told the other Israelites to do the same thing, right? And they did. And what happened is that what okay, before I even go there, I think I'm going ahead of the story. Let's just read this verse 31 to 35, and then I'll continue. As soon as they finish saying all this, the ground opened up. Okay, yeah. Okay, so basically I'm right. I think I was talking about something else. So basically, after they said all those things, God told them to actually remove themselves, and then the other Israelites to remove themselves, and the ground opened up, and it opened up, and then it swallowed Korah, Dathan, Abiram, and their entire families, and then the ground closed itself. So that's how they died. Okay, they just went straight to hell. That's how they died. And then what happened is, like, the other 250 men that was with them and supporting them, they also lost their lives, basically. And yeah, and they were also like offering incense to God, because I believe Moses told them that if they think that they are holy, you know they should bring incense, and him too, and Aaron, they will also bring their own incense, and then God will choose whoever is holy, and that's how they actually died. And then the men too that were holding the incense to die. And then Moses told Aaron that his the Levites can actually go and take the the things that they were using for the fire, because those things actually were the the lambs, excuse me, the lambs were actually holy, because they use it to offer a sacrifice to God. So the lambs that, those lights that were used to offer the sacrifice, were taken back into the tabernacle, because they were holy, basically. So when we read Numbers chapter 17, these Israelites are very stubborn. You can see what happened to Miriam. You can see what happened to them when they wanted the quail. You can see what happened to um Dathan and Abiram, and the other person. What's the person's name himself? I've forgotten right now. Korah. Yeah, they can see what happened to Korah, Dathan, and Abiram, and still they were rebelling against God. So now what happened is, like, they were complaining again. They feel like God is doing favoritism. God has chosen Moses and Aaron, and it's not them. So you know what? God was like, these people are just so stubborn. You know what? Let each what you call it? Each tribe bring a staff, okay? And for the tribe of Levi, I want Aaron to bring his own staff, and each leader that brings the staff should actually put their name on the staff, so they know who it belongs to. And then God was like, they should leave the staff, okay? And then in the I think in the morning, or whenever God chose to actually tell them the day. Yeah, let's actually read it. So verse 17, it says, the Lord said to Moses, speak to the Israelites and get 12 staffs from them, one from the leader of each of the ancestral tribe. Write the name of each man on his staff. On the staff of the Levi, write Aaron's name, for there must be one staff for the head of each ancestral tribe. Place them in the tent of meeting in front of the ark of covenant law, where I will meet you. The staff belonging to the man I choose will sprout. I will rid myself of their constant grumbling against you by the Israelites. Okay, so basically that was what God told Moses, like I was saying. And the next morning, when Moses went there and then he looked at the staff, he noticed that the one of Aaron, okay, representing the tribe of Levi, did not only sprout, also it budded, and there was like almonds on it. So that's the picture that I tried to find on Google right here. So as you can see, this is Aaron and his brother Moses, and then some of the elders of Israel. Okay, so after all that, God got angry, and then there was another death that was happening. And yeah, a lot of people actually died on this day, because they always grumble against God and stuff like that. So as they were dying, Moses told Aaron that Aaron should go and offer like a sacrifice to God, so that the God will not kill all of them. I think that day there were like 14,000 people that actually lost their lives. So yeah, after Moses, I mean, no, after Aaron offered that sacrifice, it actually stopped. Okay, so no people didn't like that anymore after he offered that sacrifice. But even so, then there were like 14,000 people that have lost their lives. So as we get into chapter 26, we will actually notice that the number of people that they actually counted at the beginning has now lessened, because they are like sinning. So it's like they sin, they die, they give birth again, but then they're still dying because they're sinning. So yeah, the numbers actually decreased a little bit. So yeah, basically these are all examples or reasons why they were all dying, because they were just stubborn, and because they have power, they think they can be equal to Moses and Aaron. They don't even know they're just privileged. They don't even know it's grace, it's mercy that God is having on them to give them power. So yeah, this is the reason why it's not everybody that God gives power to, because some people, when you give them the power, they abuse it. They think, oh, they have power, they can do this, they can do that. But the power is not for you to do what you want. It's for you to actually use it to serve people. They don't understand that part. Okay. So when we get to chapter 18, it talks about the duty of the priests and the Levites, and offering to the priests and the Levites. Okay. And one thing I wanted to actually go into details here is that even though the Levites are actually chosen by God, God told them, you can see I have this in red. God told them not to go near the furnishings of the sanctuary, or they should not go near the altar. Okay, if they go there, they will die. Okay, just like the what you call it, the other set of Levites that God also told them they can cover the they can go to the most normal part and cover the things with the curtains, but they should not be looking in the things that they cover. They should not be going through things at the place, otherwise they will die. Basically, it's the same things go here, because they are just privileged. Okay, they are just privileged, but still their power comes with instructions. They are limited to certain things. There are certain things only Aaron or Moses can do, they cannot do. So basically that's the things that was happening in chapter 18. And the water of cleansing, the water of cleansing. So basically this water of cleansing, it came to this whole thing came to part because I think some people actually asked Moses, like they wanted to take part of the I think they wanted to take part of they were having a festival, but they wanted to take part, but the thing is like they were ceremonially unclean. So what will happen is like they have to cleanse themselves. And in order to cleanse yourself, you need to I think put water on yourself on the third day and also on the seventh day for you to be ceremonially clean, and then come to the tabernacle, or be actually sanctified and stuff like that. And this is what the book of Numbers chapter 19 was just talking about. Let's just read a little bit of it. Okay, so verse 11 says, whoever touches a human corpse will be unclean for 7 days. They must purify themselves with water on the third day and on the seventh day, then they will be clean. But if they do not purify themselves on the third day and seventh day, they will not be clean. If they fail to purify themselves after touching a human corpse and they will defile the God's tabernacle. They must be cut off from Israel, because the water of cleansing has not been sprinkled on them. They are unclean. Their uncleanness remain on them. So like I was saying before, this goes back to baptism. Here it was talking about physically not being clean, but when we talk about baptism, is spiritually not being clean, because this word of God actually is a spirit. It's a spirit. The things that we just read the word of God and we just look at it as like physical thing. Sometimes it's a spirit, because now when we baptize, it's not our body that we're actually cleaning. We're actually cleaning our spirit from all the filthiness, our soul from all the filthiness. Of course, our body too, with the sins that we committed, like fornication. That's the sin that we actually commit with our body. So yeah, basically that's what the water of cleansing is all about. So let's just move on to chapter 20. So in chapter 20, it talks about how God brought water from the rock. Okay, that's the water Meribah, and also how Edom denied Israel from passing through their camp, and also how Aaron died. Aaron died at age 123. She was pretty old. It also talks about the death of Moses' sister Miriam as well. Okay, so Miriam, let's just read a little bit before I explain. So chapter 20 verse 1 says, in the first month of the whole in the first month, the whole Israelite community arrived at the desert of Zin, and they stayed at Kadesh. There Miriam died and was buried. So Miriam died at Kadesh, okay, and she was buried. And after that, the Israelites were, of course, complaining again because they wanted water, and this is why Moses sinned. This is where Moses sinned, and this is the reason why Moses wasn't able and Aaron weren't able to go to the promised land, because the Israelites were complaining about water, how they wanted water to drink, and of course God wanted to provide them water, but Moses was like, must we bring you water from the rock? Must we? And the must we that he said, God felt dishonored. God felt disrespected. God felt like Moses didn't respect him, you know, that in the face of the Israelites, like he disrespected him. And that's the reason why God was like, Moses, do not ask me about going to the land of Canaan. You will see there, but you will not enter. You and this your brother. Okay. So that's what happened. And also Aaron died, okay? And let's read about the death of Aaron. So verse 22, the whole Israelites community set out from Kadesh and came to Mount Hor. At Mount Hor, near the border of Edom, The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, Aaron will be gathered to his people. He will not enter into the land given to the Israelites, because both of you rebelled against me, against my command at the waters of Meribah. Verse 25. Get Aaron and his son Eleazar and take them up to Mount Hor. Remove Aaron's garments and put them on his son Eleazar, and Aaron will be gathered to his people. He will die there. So basically, that's how Aaron died. Aaron died at Mount Hor. I think that's how you pronounce it, Hor. And Miriam died at Kadesh. Okay. So yeah, and like I said, I don't know how old Miriam was, but Aaron was 123. I think some few chapters from here they will tell us about um Aaron's age, but yeah, he was 123. So yeah, that's how he died, and then his son Eleazar became the priest in charge, okay, in charge of everything. So Numbers 21, Arad destroy. So oh, also I forgot to talk about the Edomites. So the Edomites are actually people from Edom. That's the children of Saul. And when the Israelites wanted to pass through there, they said no to them. I think they were also afraid, but then it's okay. I mean, they were also family, so God didn't really do anything to them at that point. But you will see how God will treat them and everything else. So yeah, verse 20. I mean, chapter 21. Um, let's just read a little bit. When the Canaanite king Arad, who lived in Negev, okay, heard that Israel was coming along the road of Athrim, he attacked the Israelites and captured some of them. The Israelites made this vow to the Lord: if you will deliver these people into our hands, we will totally destroy their cities. Verse 3. The Lord listened to Israel's plea and gave the Canaanites over them. They completely destroyed their towns and their towns. So the place was named Homa. Okay, and so yeah, basically that's what happened with the king of Arad. They destroyed everything and they destroyed them. And also, as they were going, the Israelites now begin to complain again because they were impatient with God. I mean, I don't know why they were not patient, because already you have been cursed that you're going to die, you're not going to make it, and your children are going to remain there for 40 more years. So I don't know why you're complaining. So anyway, they complained to God, and God got angry, and God brought venoms like snakes that are like, ha, when they bite you, you die. They are venomous. Okay, venomous. So yeah, God brought the snakes there to kill them. And what happened is, like, they complained to God again. I mean, they complained to Moses, and Moses to talk to God, and God told Moses to make a snake with bronze. And if you get bitten by a snake, you look onto this snake with the bronze. I mean, this snake made out of bronze, then you will be healed. And this is how in the healthcare they have the snake on the pole, okay, meaning healing. So yeah. So as they journeyed to Moabab, of course they journeyed to Moabab, and then they made like camps around the places. Of course, the people were scared as well, but nothing really happened there. They did not disturb the Israelites. The Israelites did not disturb them. But they traveled, and then they went to Sigon and Og, okay, and the kings there were a bit terrified, and they actually fought against the Israelites. Okay, they wanted to actually kill them. So God was like, you know what? Go and kill these people. Do unto them like you did with Arad. Okay, kill them, destroy this whole place. Okay, so they went ahead and did as God said. Okay, so God gave them into their hands. Okay, and then they struck them down. Okay, and nobody survived, and they took all their possessions. Okay, of the land basically. So when we get to chapter 22, this is interesting. So Balaam summons Balak. So when Balak, who was a king, heard of what happened to these other kings, Sihon, I guess, and Og, he was scared and he summoned Balaam. Balaam is a priest, okay? Like, I'm not really sure if he's like a good priest or a bad priest, because I mean, I know he knew God, but I don't know. I don't really know. I mean, I think as we read the word, I think maybe the Bible will mention him again, but I don't really know because. Okay, let's just read about this. Okay, so now Balak, son of Zilpah, saw that Israel had gone to the Amorites, and Moab was terrified because there were so many people, like I was saying. Indeed, Moab was filled with dread because of the Israelites. The Moabites said to the elders of Midian. Remember, Midian was children of the second wife that Abraham took. after Sarah died. Okay, so yeah, so that happened. Of course they were all scared. Who won't be scared? So let's see what happened in verse 9. So verse 9, actually before verse 9, Balak actually summoned Balaam. Balak wanted to see Balaam because he wanted Balaam to come and curse these people, because they believed, so I guess this was a prophet of God. They believed Balaam really well as a prophet, because if he says this person is going to die, the person will die. If he says this is going to be well with this person, it is always well with this person. So Balak wanted Balaam to come and curse the Israelites, and this is what God actually told them. God came to Balaam and told Balaam, Balaam, whom are you talking to? And Balaam was like, well, I'm talking to Balak, son of Zippor. Like, he came to me concerning these people that just came out of Egypt, and that he want me to go and curse. And God is like, don't go and curse them, because those people are blessed, right? So let's see if Balaam actually listened to God or listened to Balak. Okay, so what happened is that after that, Balaam, these people did not leave Balaam alone. Okay, Balak did not leave Balaam alone. He still wanted him to actually, he still wanted him to come and curse these people. And these are like the three messages that Balaam sent to Balak. Let's just read some of them. Then Balaam wrote his message. Balak brought me from Aram, the king of Moab, from the eastern mountains. Come, he said, curse Jacob for me. Come, denounce Israel. How can I curse those whom God has not cursed? How can I denounce those whom God has not denounced? From the rocky peaks I see them, from the heights I view them. I see a people who live apart and do not consider themselves one of the nations. Verse 10. Who can count dust of Jacob, or number even the fourth of Israel? Let me die the death of the righteous, and may my final ends be like theirs. Basically, it's like, I'm not going to curse them. I want to be blessed. So basically, that's the first message that he sends. And the second message is still in the chapter 23 that we're reading. He says, then he spoke his message. Arise, Balak, and listen. Hear me, son of Zippor. God is not human that he should lie, not a human being that he should change his mind. Does he speak and not act? Does he promise and not fulfill? I have received a command to bless, and shall bless. I cannot change it. No misfortune is seen in Jacob, no misery in Israel. The Lord their God is with them. The shout of the king is among them. God brought them out of Egypt. They have the strength of the wild ox. There is no divination against Jacob, no evil omen against Israel. It will now be said of Jacob and of Israel, see what God has done. The people rise like lioness. They rouse themselves like lion that does not rest, so it devours its prey and drinks the blood of its victims. So this is the third one that Balaam wrote to Balak. Verse 27. Then Balak said to Balaam, come, let me take you to another place. Perhaps it will please God to let you curse them for me. And Balak took Balaam to the top of Peor, overlooking the wasteland. Balaam said, build me 7 altars here, and prepare 7 bulls and 7 rams for me. Balak did as Balaam had said, and offered a bull and ram for each altar. This is not done. They still have few messages, okay? But we can see Balaam did not listen to God, okay? He decided to actually go to see Balak. And the funny thing is, like, when he was going, his donkey was being a bit disobedient to him, and he wanted to be the donkey. And the donkey, God opened the donkey's mouth, and the donkey talked, and the donkey was like, yo, this is not the first time that you've been troubling with me. Every time that you trouble with me, I'll do as you say. Have you not for a second think that maybe there's something wrong? That's what I'm doing. And he didn't know that there was an angel of God standing before the donkey. That's the reason why the donkey was misbehaving. So then the angel of God actually opened his eyes, and then he saw him, and then he was like, Balaam, in fact, you are going to where God did not want you to go. And he was scared, and in fact, he wanted to turn back. And the angel was like, no, it's okay, you can go, but as you go, just say only the thing that I tell you to say. And Balaam was like, okay, I will do as you say. And basically, at this point, Balaam has this obeyed God, because the first thing that God told Balaam was like, Balaam, do not go, do not go, do not go. But Balaam decided to go, and now that Balaam decided to go, now God is giving him another instruction. Since you have decided to go, you better say what I tell you. And I believe this is the reason why in the future we will actually read in Numbers that Balaam actually died. Like the Israelites actually killed him at the end of the day. Because I mean, he was disobedient to God in the first place anyways. Right? So let's just keep moving. So in chapter 24, this first part was a prophecy that Balaam prophesied. Okay, let's just read the prophecy. Okay, when Balaam looked out and saw Israel encamped tribe by tribe, the Spirit of God came on him, and he spoke this message: the prophecy of Balaam, son of Beor, the prophecy of one whose eyes sees clearly, the prophecy of one who hears the words of God, who sees visions from the Almighty, who falls prostrate and whose eyes are open. How beautiful are your tents, Jacob! Your dwelling place is Israel. Like valleys they spread out, like gardens beside a river, like olives planted by the Lord, like cedars beside the waters. Water will flow from their buckets. Their seed will have abundant water. Their king will be greater than Agag. Their kingdom will be exalted. God brought them out of Egypt. They have the strength of the wild ox. They devour hostile nations and break their bones in pieces. With their arrows they pierce them. Like a lion they crush and lie down. Like a lioness, who dares to rouse them? May those who bless you be blessed, and those who curse you be cursed. So basically he blessed them again, right? So now let's move on to the fourth message, okay, and then the fifth message. This is still in the chapter 24. So Balaam's fourth message, okay, says when he spoke this message, the prophecy of Balaam, son of Beor, the prophecy of one whose eyes sees clearly, the prophecy of one who hears the word of God. So he was a prophet of God, who 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 has knowledge from the Most High. Okay, who sees a vision from the Almighty, who falls prostrate and whose eyes were open. I see him, but not now. I behold him, but not near. A star will come out of Jacob. A scepter will rise from out of Israel. He will crush the four foreheads of Moab, the skulls, all the people of Shet. Edom will be conquered. Seir, his enemy, will be conquered. This, but Israel will grow strong. A ruler will come out of Jacob and destroy survivor city. I think here the star that he's talking about is David, because we will find out when David came how many people that he killed, right? You will find out. And it also talks about the scepter will rise out of Israel. That scepter, because it was King David, right? So the fifth message, Balaam's fifth message. To Balaam saw Amalek and spoke this message. Amalek was first among the nations, but their end will be utter destruction. Balaam sixth message. Then he saw the Kenites and spoke his message. Your dwelling place is secure. Your nest is set in a rock. Yet you Kenites will be destroyed when Asher takes you captive. Okay, Balaam's seventh message. Then he spoke his message. Alas, who 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 can live when God does this? Ships will ships will come to the shore of Cyrus. They will subdue Asher and Eber, but they too will come to ruin. Then Balaam got up and returned home, and Balak went his own way. So basically, he was supposed to come there to curse, but he came there to prophesy, to bless, and to tell, of course, the future, which is prophesying. Interesting. So let's go to chapter 25. So chapter 25, Moab seduced Israel. So the Moabites, okay, the Moabite women actually started sleeping with the Israelites, and they didn't just sleep with any ordinary Israelite too. The elders, The elders that are supposed to set good examples, they were the ones sleeping with these Moabite women, okay, the Midianites and all of them. They were sleeping with them, and then God got angry, okay. And what happened is that Phineas, the son of Eleazar is the one that actually became the priest, the what you call it, the main priest when Aaron died. Okay, so Phineas is his father, and I mean his Phineas is his son, right? So now Phineas, who is a priest, of course, is a Levite, and he got angry seeing what was going on. And one of the annoying thing that he saw is that one of the elders from, I think, Simon, yes, a Simonite, that's one of the tribes of Israel. One of their elders brought a Midianite woman to the tent of Israel to sleep with her. And when this Phineas found out, he did not spare them. He killed both the Israelites and then the Midianites. And God actually was happy for what he had done, and God actually blessed him. Let's hear the blessing that God actually said to him. So verse 11, I'm going to start from the second part of verse 11. It says, since he was zealous for my honor. Okay, let me just read from the first. Verse 11 to, I'm reading from verse 11 to, I think 12. Yeah. So it says, from verse 11 to 12, it says, Phineas, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron the priest, has turned my anger away from the Israelites, since he was zealous for my honor among them as I am. I did not put an end to them in my zeal. Therefore tell him I am making my covenant of peace with him. He and his descendants will have a covenant of a lasting priesthood, okay, because he was zealous for the honor of his God and made atonement for the Israelites. So yeah, and verse 16 says, the Lord said to Moses, treat the Midianites as enemies and kill them. They treated you as enemies when they deceived you in the poor incident involving their sister Cosby, the daughter of Midianite leader, the woman who was killed when the plague came as a result of that incident. So I guess that's the woman that was sleeping with the elder of Simon tribe. So yeah. So before, I guess they weren't like enemies, but now they became enemies. And as you study the word, we will also find out how during the time of Gideon they will come and steal their crops and all that. We will find out. Okay. So this is the second census. So this is Numbers chapter 26. And like I was telling you, as you compare the first census, which was taken from Numbers chapter 1, and the one taken from Numbers chapter 26, there were people that died, but God being faithful, as people die, people actually give birth. And we can see the tribe of Manasseh. Oh my God, they are overpopulated. Like, yo, these people were giving birth like crazy. I think they were one of the people that had like more like land when they got to the land of Canaan. And look at Simon tribe. See how many people that died. A lot of them died, but for Manasseh, a lot of people actually survived. So yeah, basically that's just a comparison, okay? A comparison of the two times they counted the census. So chapter 27, they talks about Zelophehad's daughters, and also it talks about Joshua succeeding Moses, okay, because it was almost time for Moses to die. So let's just read these few verses that I have here. Okay, so the Lord said to Moses, take Joshua, son of Nun, a man in whom the spirit of leadership, and lay your hand on him. Have him stand before Eleazar the priest and entire assembly, and commission him in their presence. Give him some of your authority, so the whole Israelite community will obey him. So yeah, basically, so I guess I'm talking about Joshua first, but in the book, the Zelophehad's daughters came first, but it's fine. So basically, God told Moses to give Joshua some tasks to perform, you know, so that the Israelites too will know that, okay, Joshua is doing something, because human beings, I mean, come on, look at this. Even the Levites themselves that God has chosen, they actually fighting over power and what now with Moses. So what more about this small boy, that is following Moses? They will actually grind this boy if if God doesn't start training him from now. So God was like, Moses should actually give him some tasks to do, in the among the people, so that the Israelites will actually acknowledge him as a leader, so that when it's time for him to lead, they will not start any drama, because God already knows them. So now let's go back to the Zelophehad's daughters. So these daughters, I think there were like four of them, and their father died, right? Their father died. I've forgotten which tribe they actually come from. I think they're from Benjamin. I think so. I think they're from Benjamin or Ephraim. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, when we read the numbers of, I mean, when we reach chapter 36, you will find out about them as well. So basically, their father died, and their father didn't have like any daughter. I mean, any son. They were all four daughters, right? And they went to Moses like, Moses, I mean, our father has died, but we don't have any brother. So who then inherits our father's property? So Moses consulted God to find out what God would have to say about this whole situation. And God told Moses that the inheritance of the man belongs to his daughters, and that should be another law. So if a man dies and he doesn't have a son, the inheritance should go to his daughters. And if he doesn't have any daughter, it should go to his brothers. And if he doesn't have any brother, then it should go to any person in his what you call his family. So that was the order. So what happened is like, okay, so in chapter 36, that's the reason why I have chapter 36 here as well, because this story also continued in chapter 36. So okay, so Moses told them, okay, you will inherit everything that your father had. So they were happy. And then in chapter 36, oh my god, sorry guys, in chapter 36 of the book of Numbers, Moses told them again, even though you are inheriting things from your father, you must marry from your tribe, so that your father's inheritance remain in your tribe. Because if you don't marry from your tribe and you marry from another man's tribe, it means like all the things that your father had is now going to another tribe. You understand? Because if you marry, whatever is yours is your husband's. So your father's property will become your husband's. And since your husband is not from that particular tribe, it means that inheritance is moving from one tribe to another tribe. And God didn't want that. God wanted every tribe to have their own thing. God didn't want one tribe taking things from another tribe. So they had to marry men from their own tribe. And they promised Moses that they are going to, and they did. So that's how their father's inheritance remained in their tribe. Okay, so yeah, let's just move on. So daily offerings. So this chapter 28, talks about other offerings that they had to give to God. And of course, these are all in the book of Leviticus as well, more things that God wanted them to offer. So the daily offerings talk about the Sabbath offerings, the monthly offerings, the Sabbath, I mean, I said the Sabbath already, the Passover, and then the festival of the weeks. They had a lot of festivals. So yeah, in chapter 28, you will find more about the festivals. And when we get to chapter 29, it talks about the festival of the trumpet, right? So there is the day of atonement, and then the festival of the tabernacles. The one for atonement is of course is a priest that will offer yeah, atonement, and then the festivals of the tabernacles. So basically you can read more about these festivals in chapter 29. And then when we go to chapter 30, it talks about like when a man or a woman actually makes an oath to God, and so basically let me just give an example that was given here. So like let's say if you are a young woman, you live with your father and you haven't gotten married yet, and you actually decide to make a covenant with God, and your father agrees or did not disapprove of the covenant that you are making, then you are under the covenant that you made with God, and you have to obey the covenant to its fullest. But if your father is like, excuse me, you're not making that covenant, are you serious? Then you're not obligated under that covenant. And if you are married, and you decide to make a covenant with God, and your husband opposes that covenant, it means you're not under that covenant. It means you don't have to really do what you said, but if your husband agrees with the covenant, then it means you have to abide with the covenant, okay, or the pledge that you made to God. Basically, that's what Numbers chapter 30 is all about. Okay. And Numbers chapter 31 is about vengeance on the Midianites. Remember, God even told them, yeah, they become your enemies, so They have become your enemies. So yeah, vengeance on the Midianites. Let's just read a little bit about what happened in here. So verse 8, it says, among their victims were Evi, Rechem, Zua, Hor, and Reba, the 5 kings of Midian. They also killed Biliam, son of Boa, with the sword. The Israelites captured the Midianites women and children and took on Midianite herds, flocks, and goods as plunder. Verse 10. They burned all the towns where the Midianites had settled, as well as all their camps. So basically here it's talking about, remember those people, I mean the Midianites, they fought them, right? Where the Beliak man, the king Beliak told Balaam to curse these people, blah blah blah. And Balaam went there. God told him not to go. He still went there, and then God was like, "You have to say what I tell you," and he did. So he blessed them. So now the Israelites went there and killed all of them because God already told them they now become their enemies. First of all, they wanted them to be cursed. Second of all, they started sleeping with them, and they made them prostitute against God. And they started worshiping Baal because they not only were the Israelites elders or men sleeping with these Midianite women, they were also worshiping Baal. They were giving sacrifice to Baal, and God don't like that. First of all, you prostituting, and then you also, it's like they double prostituted, like like they cheated on God because first of all they are God's wife, and second of all they prostituted again because they went to worship another God instead of God. So yeah, basically that's what happened, and they all died. And the problem, what the thing that they did that God didn't approve of, the or God wasn't happy, was that after they killed all these people, they kept the young children and the women. I'm like, Israel, are you serious? You kept the women, the same women that you were sleeping with, that God started killing you people. You went to kill their men and kept their women. So God was actually angry at them. So what happened is that God actually told them that they need to kill all the women that they brought, and then leave the women that had not slept with men before. So yeah, basically God told them, you brought these people, I did not ask you to bring them, you need to kill them, but spare the lives of the ones that hadn't slept with men before. So yeah, basically that's what happened in this chapter 31. Okay. So in chapter 32, it talks about the Transjordan tribes. So the Reubenites and the Gadites, right? So the ones from the Reuben tribe and Gad, they had a lot of flocks. And when they got to the around Jordan, they saw that their land was fertile. So they went to Moses and the elders, and they were like, Moses, can we please stay here? Can we stay here because the land is good? We can raise our animals and all that. And Moses at a point was like, are you people serious? God has promised a land, but because you have seen your own land, a land that is fertile, you want to stay here so that we will go and fight. Okay, oh, you are not going to do that. So the Reubenites and Gadites were like, Moses, you know what? What about we set tents here? What about we make tents here for our women and our children and our cattle and sheep, and then you will go help fight for our brothers. And then after we help them, and they too they've gotten their portion which the Lord has promised them, then we will return back to our wives and our children and our inheritance. What about that? So Moses was like, okay, that sounds good. You can do that. So you can stay here, build tents for your children and your wives, and make sure your animals are fed and all that, but you coming to help us fight. And until each and every tribe has gotten their possession, you're not returning back. So that's what happened, and they were like, okay, cool. So they came to an agreement, basically. And in chapter 33, it talks about the stages of the journey. Okay, so let's just read. It says, verse 51 says, speak to the Israelites and say to them, when you cross the Jordan into Canaan, drive out all the inhabitants of the land before you, destroy all carved images and their cast idols, and demolish all the high places. Take possession of the land and settle in it, for I have given you the land to possess. Verse 54, distribute the land by lot according to your clans. To a larger group, give a larger inheritance. To a smaller group, give a smaller one. Whatever falls by them by lot will be theirs. Distribute according to your ancestral tribes. But if you But if you do not drive out the inhabitants of the land, those you allow to remain will become barbs in your eyes and thorns in your sides. They will give you trouble in the land where you live, and then I will do to you what I plan to do to them. So basically, God was telling them, when you get there, when you were dividing the land, don't just divide it equally among them. Like we saw that Manasseh there, that family, they were a lot of people. So for them, they will get a larger plot of land. And for the let's say the Simonites, they weren't that much, so they will get maybe a smaller portion, and that makes sense. I mean, the more people, the more land. The less people, the less land. That makes sense. But God told them, you need to drive away every single person that you see in there. Okay, you need to destroy them, because if you don't and you leave them and they live among you, they're going to be thorns in your flesh. They're going to annoy you. Because of them, you probably not enjoy the fullness of the land. Okay, and the things that I plan to do with them, I'll do to you. And as we read on, we will get to Deuteronomy and the other books. We will find out that these Israelites, they are stubborn. They did not kill all of them. They left somebody there, somebody that they felt pity for the person. They left the person, and now that family grew. And as you can see, during the time of, I mean, when we get to the kings, we will find out that during the time of King David, there was this particular people that he wanted to kill. But these people came to frame David. They came pretending as if they are on the side of as if they're not enemies with David, and they, because of that, they actually had an inheritance too. They had an inheritance around there, and David made a covenant with them, and then they couldn't break that covenant. Like, only if David knew that these people were not genuine. But then, was it David's fault? It wasn't David's fault. It was the fault of his ancestors. His ancestors refused to kill the people that God told them to kill. They decided to leave that particular set of people. So yeah, we will find out more about that when we get to the Book of Kings, and also when we get to the other books. Okay. So this is chapter 34. Okay, Numbers chapter 34. So this is the boundaries of Canaan. And like God even said to Moses about dividing the land. So as you can see, like I was saying, Manasseh, they had a lot of people, so their land of course is big. And let's look at Dan. They had small people, so their land is small. Benjamin had they didn't have a lot of people, so their land is small. I mean, another thing that I feel like is that the larger, I mean, the older the tribe was, I mean, the more people that they were in. Like, let's take Benjamin for example. Benjamin was the youngest son. Ah, come on, he was the youngest son of Jacob. And even when Jacob was old, at that time Benjamin was young. He had like just few children. So of course his tribe is of course the youngest. So I mean, it makes sense that their population is small. But Manasseh, hey, Manasseh, they just give birth. Yeah, why am I even saying it? So they have a lot of people in there. Okay. And I think for the other tribes, it's because they sinned. They just sin and sin and sin and sin. So when God kill people, they they are among the ones that get killed. So I guess that's the reason why they are less. So yeah, basically this is the boundary. So this is where they were all living. Yeah. So this is the chapter 35. Okay, chapter 35 of Numbers. So this is the towns of the Levites and the city of the refuge. So basically, let's just read this. So verse 2 says, command the Israelites to give the Levites towns to live in from the inheritance of the Israelites, from the inheritance the Israelites will possess, and give them pasture land around the town. Verse 3, then they will have towns to live in and pasture land for their cattle they own, and their own other animals. So basically God was like, the Israelites to should also give lands to the Levites. Remember, because the Levites are not going to war. Remember, God told them they don't go to war, they just do things in the tabernacle. That's where they are. They actually representing the firstborn of every woman that God was actually asking the Israelites, after the after what was it? After the Passover. So yeah, God was like, you need to remember them, you need to give them a land so that they will be able to live there, and they will also pasture the animals. And also God said in the forest, like in the bushes, they should set cities there so that when somebody sent, like somebody kills someone, and it's not like it's like a prison in a way. It's like when someone kills somebody unintentionally, the person can go there and stay there until the priest, actually the high priest, has died. So you remain there until the high priest die. So in modern day we will call that like a prison. So when you commit a sin, you just turn yourself into prison. But now it's not like that. In fact, even if somebody says, the person is trying to argue that he or she did not commit the sin that they committed. But back then, when you sin, you need to give yourself in. Because if you don't give yourself in and they find out that you're the one that murdered someone, they're going to kill you too. They're going to kill you too. So it's better you actually give yourself in, and then you stay in this city of refuge until the high priest at that time dies, and then you actually come back. So if the high priest is 10 years old, then you are, I'm sorry, you're gonna stay there for forever basically, because that person ain't dying anytime soon. Okay, so that's what happened in there. So yeah,